to me is the easiest method. Ne? Number one. But number two, it's also the method that's not the least accurate, but it's an average price. Where with SIM, we use the exact cost price. And with FIFO, we use the newest prices. Weighted average takes an average price. Okay, so this is how we do it. When they give you weighted average, you always go and you say, okay, what is the rands and what is the units? Because now I want to get an average price. And I'm still in my head going to use opening plus purchases less returns. And I remember purchases, I add the carriage and I add the customs. You guys get that? Because I'm loading the price. So now when I look at this weighted average that I can't find, people sitting next to me is stealing it. I'm just lying. Okay, so let's look at the info. They say, leather jackets are bought from a South African supplier, meaning there's no customs. The leather jackets are valued using the weighted average, and stocks are valued at the beginning and the end of the financial year as follows. So can you see once again, what do? They didn't give me an opening, but they did give me my purchases, right? Can you see that? There's no opening. And then they tell me carriage on purchases was so much, 3 jackets were returned, and during the year we had the following sales. Okay, so now let's go. I want the opening. They didn't give me any opening, right? I want the purchases. So I take that total purchases, the 372, and at the bottom I put the unit. Right. But I want to load the purchase price. You see, I'm not going to add 600 again, because it's only that 600 units has got an original price, but it's got an additional cost called carriage. So what is the carriage? They say it was 13,000 in total. So I need to add that. Okay. Now they say 3 jackets from this batch were returned. So 3 jackets was returned. Ne? What was the price? They say it's from the February batch. So it's this one. So the unit cost was 700. So 3 times 700 gives me 21. Okay. So I'll do the bottom, you do the top. What is that? 372 plus 13 gives me 385. Less 21 gives me 38. 382. 900. Now, what do I get now? $54 or $64? Huh?
641.
Now listen closely to what I'm saying. Once you get that answer, you clean your calculator. And then you go and you push in that number again. Okay? Because a lot of times the commas goes on forever. And then if you say times whatever, the answer is going to be different than the one on my memo. Because you have now decided this is the average price. So you can't times with 3712199321. Okay? You must times with that. Next this. So if I look at this now, this is what I call my average price. This is my average cost price. Okay. And now I want to see what is my closing stock units. How many units didn't sell? And did they tell me? Can you see they didn't tell you? Usually they would have here the closing stock is so many units and the total cost is a question mark. But here they didn't tell me. Is there a way for me to figure out how many units weren't sold? How?
Purchases minus the one that was sold.
Exactly. So, how many units was sold? 480. How many units did I have available? Oh, I had 600 units, of which 3 was returned. So I had 597 units available to sell. You guys got it? They tell me I sold 480. So that means we have 117 units in my closing stock that I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 407. Okay, you guys with me? Okay? So now I'm just going to say, oh, you know what? That's the average price. I have 117 units left, so my closing stock rand value is going to be how much? Anybody with a number for me?
750.0.
Okay, and there's my closing stock. Can you see the weighted average is the easy one? What you need to realize is we're not going to try and catch you out and do it a little bit more difficult like grade 12. We just want you to understand the 3 different methods, and then we need you to know you use the opening plus purchases less returns. And purchases is always loaded with carriage and customs because it makes the price more, right? And then yeah, so we'll ask it like in these 3 questions. We won't ask it more difficult than that. I'll make sure of that. Okay. So now, if I want to do the cost of sales, can you see if I want to do the cost of sales, I can again do the opening plus the purchases, less the returns, plus the carriage, less the closing. Okay? I can do that. I don't have an opening. My purchases was 372. My returns was 21. My carriage was 13. And by the way, can you see that you've already calculated it here? Sorry, I'm using yours now. Can you see here? It's exactly the same as here. So, in other words, you could have just said that 382, 900. Can you see? Less the closing, 7504029, and that gives you what? That gives me my cost of sales equals whatever we see there. Another method, you can think of another method to get the cost of sales with weighted average, and it's only with weighted average. You know what's a weird thought is that the units for sales is equal to the units for cost of sales. Does that make sense? Because if I'm selling this one thing is loaded with the sales price and the original price I paid for it. So what is the units that I'm selling? 1. What is the units that I am figuring out what the cost price was? 1. So if I have the sales units, I've got the cost of sales units. Did they give me the sales units? Yes, they tell me it's 480, ne? Am I right? It's 480. Oh, and I calculated the average price there. That's the average cost price. So if I times it with the average cost price, I will get my cost price of the units that I sold. They will most probably not be equal because of all the rounding off. But yeah, both methods is correct.